talked about what FDR did, the one thing that that worked out was that he made sure that a lot of government jobs were not political jobs. So you had career federal workers who, no matter what the administration, they were still there to keep the continuity of the government working. And if you take that away, now you take away a lot of protection from a lot of people in this country. Caller, you're there.
Yes, peace and love to all. Thanks for answering my call.
Yes.
It's Solar Bean. Now, I want us to remember this is a gangster organization. The government, which is improper government right now, like it was in past history up until now, a gangster organization. I don't know if you remember when Kennedy or President Kennedy tried to change things. Well, he was assassinated. Now right now, as always, will have a few white sacrifices, but the ultimate goal of the racist man and racist woman is the system of white supremacy racism. I say that because the hacks and the whacks, the Democrats and the Republicans, like the Democrats opened the borders. Now they look for the Republicans to close the borders, to tighten up on everything. But we have to remember, the same people that caused the problems, which all problems that are caused, it points back to the system, the gangster organization. They cause a tragedy and then they try to solve the tragedy. But they will have a few white sacrifices because they want, just like you say, some that can turn in their resignation. If they're not for the system, they say, well, this is a battle. And they fight their little battles to refine how they want to control and position themselves to, well, I would say not feel guilty or let us look at them as being guilty about the way they're doing things. But it all goes back to Gangster Trump and all the other gangsters. Some will be mild in their approach, but some will come up with the fist raised to say, hey, it's all about this white power. And that is their ultimate goal at this point. Now, the way we should look at it, we ask for what we need, and if they give us what we need, we have to compensate for what they don't. Now, whether it be the Medicaid, Medicare, or whatever, I always say God is still in control, and he won't put no more on us than we can bear. And again, with that, peace and love to all.
Okay, thanks for calling. It's three things based on your comments. There's three things I want to say. Number one, I do agree with you. This is gangster. This is straight gangster. You know, as we used to say growing up, this is Bogart. You know. The second thing is that, contrary to popular belief, it wasn't Democrats who opened up the border. It was the Republicans going all the way back to Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan wanted immigrants. He wanted the southern border open so that people can flow back and forth, because he knew and he understood that when slavery, quote unquote, ended, you know, where you could not, you know, you had to adhere to some rules, which, you know, a lot of times they didn't do. With people coming in from the southern border, they knew that they had a workforce that basically would work as slaves, because we can pay you under the table, or we can give you what we want to give you, and you will accept it because we know the desperation you are. And the third thing that we also have to look at, based on what you said, is that if we're not looking, if we're distracted at the front door, they're going to come in the back door and take everything. And we get so distracted with some things that we don't really see what's going on. So we're not in a battle. No, we're not in a battle. We are in war. A battle is something that, it just, it may go on for a minute and then you stop and you regroup. This is a war. And in war, there's going to be a winner, there's going to be a loser. And and just because there's a battle does not mean you may win a battle, but do you win the war? So this is war. And the war encompasses, and people are realizing now, they're waking up and they're seeing that, okay, going back to what you said, Denise, you had an apartheid idealist in the highest levels of government, making decisions based on his ideas, based on his thoughts. We've already seen when I talked about Monday, he spoke to the alt-right committee in Germany. The alt-right is trying to, in fact, Germany has declared that the alt-right committee is a far-right extremist group. And they have someone who they are running for Chancellor of Germany. And Elon Musk spoke, and he said, let's make Germany great again. So when you start looking at these things, when you start, yes, people talk about, yes, Elon Musk, he's coming in and he's jumping all around on stage, and and he's giving $500 million to the campaign and all this, and and for some reason they think, well, President Trump is going to be able to control him. That's some BS. You spend $500 million, oh, you want something back. You're not going to spend you're not going to spend $500 million. That's an investment. And that investment is, I want to make this country in a way that I want it to be. And I got other people behind me. At the end of the day, I believe, and this is my opinion, just my opinion, I believe Donald Trump is just the face and the puppet of all the people behind him. He's the puppet. We're going to use him for our agenda. And because his main goals, his three main things, in my opinion, he wants the attention. He likes attention. He likes making money. And he likes being in control. If we can give him that, the people behind the scenes, we can give him that, then we can do what we want to do. And that's the distraction that we have to look at. If we don't excuse me, if we don't wake up and start to see this, if we, as you said, Denise, if we stay in our individual selves and not start looking at the bigger picture and the bigger collective, we all, no matter what you think your status is, no matter what you think your color is, no matter what you think your race is, no matter what you think your gender is, no matter what, we all gonna be caught in this same net. And we're gonna look up and we're gonna be like, what the heck happened?
And here's Lo saying, and I feel like he was responding to you in what you're saying about paying attention to what's happening to whom. And it says, the greatest beneficiary of affirmative action based upon the data has been white women.
Right.
And I feel like what Lo is doing is cautioning us, because one of the distractions that the world does to us is it puts a black face on everything so that you can believe that whatever the issue is, it's a Black issue. So if you are not Black, you don't have to worry about it. It doesn't affect you. And so when you say doing away with affirmative action, people were like, oh, well, that was to help Black people. But if the biggest beneficiary were white women, then for them to do away with affirmative action, that directly impacts you. So you can't think that these issues are just Black folks issues or immigrant issues or issues that do not have anything to do with you, because as you said, Tony, the net has been cast wide and it's going to catch a whole bunch of folks. And you have to be willing to recognize, locate yourself in this story. Donald Trump is coming for all of us. And it's interesting to me for him to say, we're going to make America great again. And then you put a South African in the highest levels of government. Like, it just doesn't even make sense. So you really aren't trying to make America great. You have another agenda, and we need to be clear about that. And the agenda is, yes, we are at war. We are at war between the races. And I know that people who are non-Black and non-white really do feel left out, because it always sounds like this is a Black-white issue. But in this particular case, that's exactly what it is. It's just taking on the face of brown folks right now. But this is all about keeping Black folks at the bottom of the caste system.
And here's something else I want you to understand. So
wait, let me get this comment in from Deidre. Deidre says, do you think that Black folk are not on the list to get got? Where is the plan? Do you think that Black folk are not on the list to get got? Where is the plan? And that is my question. That continues to be my question about Black folks. And I was thinking about this as I walked away from the show on Tuesday. I said, we do a lot of talking, but we have not set down any strategy. What is our agenda? What are our goals? What are we pushing for? What are we fighting for at this war? Where is the plan?
Yeah, I agree. And so when you look at what's happening, when people are looking at these deportations, the amount of money that I think I can't remember what the exact figure was when I was reading it, but they said between $10,000 to $15,000. That's what it costs to deport one person. $10,000 to $15,000 for one person. And Donald Trump has issued a memo. He said that they're not arresting enough people. He wants to have at least 1,200 arrests per day. Now, this money to deport these individuals, normally it goes through Congress to put this money in, to appropriate this money. But because of the powers that the Supreme Court gave him, he can take money from anywhere. That's why it was so important of the pushback on the funding freeze, because people were so caught up in the border, so caught up in the southern border. There's criminals, there's rapists, there's murderers. We have to get them out. We have to get them out. The rest of the world emptied all their prisons and sent them to the United States. So we got to get them out. So people are like, yeah, we got to get them out. Where are you going to get this money? So what's happening now is all the money that's needed to deport people, now you pulling it from fundings. And people woke up and like, hold up. I suppose I got a grant from the federal government for money to do this. Where is it? Well, hold up. You're deporting people, but you're not supposed to touch my money. You're supposed to give me this so I can do the work. That's the social protections that are being stripped away because of another agenda. And so you start to look at this. And going back to something that Denise said and I said, when you cast that wide net, they don't care who get caught up in it. And Phyllis Brown said something one day, this was a few months ago on the Down With That show, she called it. She said this. I didn't understand it at first, but I understand it now. She said the people who are going to suffer the most are going to be poor white people, middle class white people. Now, I know a lot of black people say, no. You know what? We already suffering. We have learned how to, make do in our suffering and our oppression. But you're going to have some white people who are not going to understand. Going back when COVID hit, black people knew, hey, it don't bother me to stay in the house. It's no big deal with me trying to make a little, make a lot out of a little. I don't mind wearing a mask. I'm cool. But so many white people were like, oh my God, they shutting this down. They shutting that down. What I'm going to do? Oh, I got to drive and get food that I never had to do this before. It threw them for a loop. Well, that loop that they got thrown for in COVID, this is going to be worse than COVID. Your loop now is going to be worse because now either you're going to swear loyalty, and I don't know how that's going to look. I guess now when you go in for a federal job or you go in for certain jobs and you feel like you're most qualified and you don't get the job, and you say, hold up. I said, you didn't hire me because I'm a woman. They're going to look at you and say, that don't even apply no more. We don't care about you being a woman. We don't want you. And ain't nothing you can do. Ain't nowhere to file a discrimination suit. We got rid of all that. There's nothing you can file that non-selection. We got rid of all that. There's no grievances. We got rid of all that. So you just out of luck. But you know what? If you go down, if you head down to unemployment and say, hey, I need services so I can get a job, then they can say, you know what? We just got rid of 3 million so-called undocumented workers. So that's 3 million jobs that are open. So you can't say you ain't got a job or you can't get a job. There's a job for you. Well, I don't want to go out there and pick tomatoes. Well, okay, then you don't get no services. It's going to be very interesting to see how a lot of people deal with what's coming next. Call, I'm sorry. If you call back, I get you.
So when we were asking the question, Deidre was asking the question, where is the plan? She responded to her own question. It is definitely not boycott Target. Like, that's not the plan. Or boycott Walmart or Trader Joe's. Those cannot be the plans because they are not effective in the long run.
Call, you're there.
Actually, Tony, I didn't say that poor white people would suffer the most. As you said just a few minutes ago, the net is spread wide. It's gonna hurt us all. The zero-sum concept is whereby one person or one group of people benefits and the rest of the people suffer. Well, the zero sum is going to backfire. Actually, it has backfired. So, 2.3 million people in the federal government.
Yes.
Right. So I don't think I would ever say the people that were going to suffer the most would be poor white people. It's simply people. And when you look at the statistics, 71% of the white male workforce comprises DEI in federal government. Who's gonna suffer? Oh, come on. Oh, the net is spread wide. A lot of people are going to suffer. And then when you look at the statistics of who receives SNAP and welfare benefits, let's dispel the myth. It isn't people of color, it is white people. So the net is spread wide. Thank you. Goodbye.
All right. Thank you. And I apologize for getting that wrong.
And here's another comment from Deidre. I don't understand why we care about the money. Your money is as good as gone. Let's talk about ICE in Southwest Little Rock taking kids out of school. Latinos are going to go after their kids without you providing a dime. Yeah. So that's comments from Deidre. I also want to share with you what Barry Jefferson posted on his Facebook page. Barry Jefferson is the leader of the NAACP for Jefferson County and Pine Bluff. And he posted he posted this on his Facebook page because his son works for the military. And this is a memo that his son received from the Defense Intelligence Agency in Washington, D.C. And it was dated January 28th of 2025. It says DIA, this is the second bullet, DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, will pause all activities and events related to agency special emphasis programs effective immediately and until further notice. Additionally, special observations hosted throughout the year by the command elements, directorates, and special offices are also paused. These include observances related to the following: Martin Luther King Jr. birthday, Black History Month, Women's History Month, Holocaust Day/Day of Remembrance, Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, Pride, Juneteenth, Women's Equality Day, National Hispanic Heritage Month, National Disability Employment Awareness Month, National American Indian Heritage Month. And this is I'm showing you the memo right here on Facebook. And so to Phyllis Brown's point, the net is cast wide and they are clear about it.
Yeah. And this idea, and this where I think going back to talking about history and going back to what they call, that's why I think the establishment is so upset about this word woke. We don't want you to realize what's going on. We want you to keep walking in your same routine, so that once the net is cast around you and you're like, how did I get caught? Well, you weren't paying attention. You weren't paying attention, and now we have you. And so the one thing we do have to remember, and it's going back to what you and Deidre both said, a plan. What is the plan? Because they're coming. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. They are coming. And if you're not, I was watching the news last night, and they're going around the country having these workshops for Hispanics and tell them what to do when an ICE officer knock on your door. And one of the first things they said, do you have a warrant? And they said, well, we're looking for this person. Well, this person doesn't live here. Will you open your door? No, you're not, And because they're doing these workshops to talk about how to respond, eventually they're going to come out with this thing. Well, we ain't got to have a warrant now. We ain't got to even knock on your door, And so all these protections that we had thought were in place, that we had relied on to be in place, they're not in place anymore. In fact, some of these protections have flipped on us. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 has flipped completely to the point where it was put in place to make sure that you could not be discriminated against race, color, religion, that you could not be denied accessibility because of your if you had a disability or race or gender. They have taken it and flipped it. They said, oh, if this is what it says, then we can actually take that out and say that, you know what? If race and gender and disability is not an issue anymore, then we don't have to do nothing. And that's how they were able to gut this. That's how Clarence Thomas and the Supreme Court was able to take affirmative action out. Another thing that we're going to have to be very, very aware of, and I'm trying to see how it's going to play out. 2026 is the midterms. Next year is the midterm elections. normally what happens, whatever party controls everything, most of the time, history shows that when it comes to the midterms, it flips. It will flip to where the other party controls the Senate or the House, or it controls one of the other ones, one of them. And it's going to be interesting. That's when you're going to find out how people have started to look at what's going on, how this has started to affect them. And now what they're trying to do is even further their agenda even more. Well, I ain't gonna say can you believe it? With everything that happened in California with the wildfires, President Trump told Gavin Newsom, that if you don't put an ID requirement for voters in, pass a voter ID bill, which California already has, that when you go and you register to vote, you have to have your birth certificate ID. That if you don't put one in where you had to show an ID at the polls, that we're going to withhold funding for you in your state with these wildfires. Going back to something that Solar Bean said, that's gangster. But it's no different than what they were doing with these other rich white men at the turn of the century. It's nothing more than what they're doing now, because we're controlling and we're wielding political power, and we're going to extort you to get what we want.
So we have this comment from Deidre based on what you just said about midterm elections. She asks the question, do you really think that there will be midterm elections? Whatever you think again. It ain't gonna happen. Dawn Jeffrey on her Facebook page says, y'all want radical changes, but aren't ready for radical actions. No wonder why we've been spinning our wheels for decades, going nowhere fast.
I agree with both statements, because if you're going to get radical, you got to get radical. You got to understand you're in war. The other thing that Deidre, you are right, and that's why it's going to be interesting, because it's a lot of things that people just blew off, about what this president was saying. They just blew it up. They said, no, he's just talking. And one of the things that remains with me is when he said in a rally, he said that if you vote for me, if we win, you'll never have to vote again. You never have to vote again. And that's something that still resonates with me, because you would want to see this thing of coming to the midterms and seeing what's going to happen. But in the back of your mind, you like, with what this administration is doing, it's easy to manipulate everything to say, you know what, we're not going to have any midterms. We're not going to do this anymore. We're not going to have this anymore. It's going to be interesting, and sometimes you have to wake up and see your disillusionment.
Well, I am one of those ones who has been pushing back on the amount of fear that people are feeling as a result of this new regime that has been voted in, because I know that people are walking around terrified, and I've been trying to figure out, why are we so afraid? We've seen this before. And so when you say that Donald Trump makes this gangster move to California and says, if you do not have this voter ID requirement, we will stop the federal funding to you. Okay. My response is, okay, Just like the southern states seceded from the Union when they did not appreciate the federal government supporting the abolishment of slavery, California can just say, we ain't gonna be a part of the federal government no more. We'll be our own state. We can develop our own republic. We'll take all of the states that agree like we agree that this regime is crazy and we are not gonna participate. We are not gonna be complicit. Just back out of it. We've done it before. You did it to support, southern states did it to support slavery. Why can't you do it to fight anti-Blackness and anti-humanity that's happening right now?
That's a good point. That's a good point and a great question. And I think going back to as people wake up, as they get woke, as they say, and start to see this disillusion, this disillusionment. I think I got it pretty close. They're going to start to understand that, what I thought isn't what the reality is. And then you have to start doing something different. You have to start going in another direction. And so that's going to be the thing. That's going to be the thing. What do we do going forward?
Yeah, but it's like, but what's going to wake you up, right? That's what, wait a minute. So Deidre says, Denise, this is following Nazi tactics, not Confederate tactics. What do you mean? This is following Nazi tactics, not Confederate tactics. What I'm suggesting is that my point is that the power rests with the people. The power does not rest with the government. If we are not satisfied with what the government is doing, then there are ways that we can respond to the government. And just like Don said, we've got to be radical with our actions and radical in our responses. We do not have to just sit back and say, oh my goodness, the federal government said this. Oh my goodness, the federal government said that. And I brought up the Confederate tactics because we have seen before that there is a way to respond to the government that does not keep you complicit or hold you hostage. That's the only point that I'm making. I'm not sure about the Nazi tactics.
Hey, caller, you can call back. Didn't want to interrupt Denise when she was speaking. So if you want to call back, call back. But I think Deidre is right because this is following, and I think you mentioned it. Was it this week or last week where you said in 53 days, Hitler basically changed the face of Germany, and the plan, and I've heard this mentioned before in some circles that that's why I mentioned the midterms, because they're looking at in 2 years. In 2 years, they want to reshape. This administration want to reshape the government in this country into what they want it to be. And if they can do that in 2 years, then
You told them to call back?
yeah. Caller, you got 20 seconds.
Yes, and I can be brief. Now, what we talk about on Sunday is joining the movement, and the movement is Black on Black love and respect. Now, we know we have a tragic arrangement that's really insane, and it promotes our insanity as far as robbing, stealing, killing. But what we need is a codified quality.
Caller, I got to cut you. It's 10
It's
o'clock. I got to cut you off.
All right. Codified quality relationship.
Okay. Hey, we out of time this morning. Hey, it was a great show this morning. I want to thank everybody for calling in. I want to thank everybody for making comments on Facebook. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be careful, be safe, and as they say, if you want to, well, I can't say the whole quote, but just wake up and see what's really going on. See you later.